A few years ago, I had a listing that took a while to sell. Eventually, we received an offer close to the list price. They had a loan and appraisal contingency, but waived everything else and signed off on the disclosures with their offer. The first week or so of the transaction was uneventful. The appraisal contingency was removed on time. They were a day late on removing the financing contingency, so I decided to follow up. Later that day, the buyer's agent sent me a long list of miscellaneous repair requests. Everything that they asked for was either already disclosed or just very trivial. It was obvious that they were trying to use the outstanding financing contingency as leverage to obtain some concessions, which is obviously a very tacky move. I told my client about it right away. He, of course, got frustrated and refused to cave to their demands. I let them know that my client rejected their request over email and gave them a notice to perform to remove the loan contingency. Later that night, around 9 p.m., the buyer's agent called me. They said that due to some issues that came up with the loan, they had to add a third person to the transaction to qualify. This new third person was supposedly unhappy with the condition of the property and insisted that if my client doesn't accept their demands, the transaction won't close. I said, well, I guess it won't work out. It happens. They tried to talk tough and scare me into convincing my client to reconsider. The next morning, I decided to call the loan agent. I didn't say anything about the attempted renegotiation. I simply asked for a status update. The loan agent seemed surprised that I was asking because without hesitation, she said that the loan was granted final approval days ago and that docs were already in title. Without sounding surprised, I thanked her for her time and called the title company. The title company confirmed that docs were received. I also learned that this third person was on the loan the whole time. After learning all of this, I sent the following email. Good morning. I just spoke with your lender. I simply asked for a status update. She said you have final approval and that the buyers are signing in a few days. Escrow said that there have been 3 people on the loan since the beginning of the escrow. I look forward to receiving your final contingency removal. They didn't appreciate being called out on their bullshit. They called me an asshole over the phone, among other things. I told them that if you don't send me a final contingency removal, your client's deposit could be at risk since we know their loan was approved days ago. Instead of swallowing their pride and just sending the removal, they decided to call my manager on a Saturday to complain about me. Since my manager actually has a spine, he reiterated that since the loan is approved, their clients could lose their deposit if they don't close. Eventually, they caved, sent me the final removal, and we closed. I'll never know for sure, but I suspect that all of this came from the buyer's agent, not the buyers themselves. They were probably so upset because they tried to look like a hero in front of their clients by negotiating concessions that they didn't ask for. I think it's hilarious that they weren't smart enough to think that maybe, just maybe, I would double check their story with their lender. Comment below if you have a funny or interesting story about an agent's lack of professionalism, but of course don't name names or slander anyone.